Hello and welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm your host, Cynthia Scott, for Monmouth in Focus. It is the end of the year, and what a busy year it has been. Here to talk about all of our progression and improvements and programs and initiatives, you name it. Freeholder Director Tom Arnone, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is a great time of the year because we were able to look back and see all the great things that Monmouth County has done, and I commend the department heads, the administration, my fellow freeholders. All of them came together, and out of my 8 years, I have to look at this year as saying, wow, we really achieved a lot of goals that we set out to do.
You absolutely have. Every time you look on social media or you see something, we see you somewhere, either announcing something, cutting a ribbon, digging into dirt. You are certainly a busy man, as well as your fellow freeholders as well. And congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's start with Department of Public Works.
Sure. So we had a busy year, and what was really nice, I'm a big fan and know the need of continuing our infrastructure. We will all be long gone here, but the county will still be here.
Sure.
If we're not continuing scheduling our infrastructure repairs, and that's what we did this year, and we had two buildings that we rehabbed the Monmouth County Health Department there, so we have our own building there, and then we put a heavy equipment maintenance building down for our public works, so we could be more efficient and a better quality of work that they can work in, and more importantly, we can increase our shared services with the towns. So, those two things will come together to be an asset. And the health department building, we now have moved out of a lease that we were in, and we're moved into an ownership building. I'm not a fan of the county leasing property. I mean, the county's going to be here forever, so why wouldn't we own what we're in? So We're starting to move out of there, and I think, quite frankly, there's only one more building. I set out that 8 years ago that I wanted to get out of all the leases and get into ownership buildings. So someday, everything will be paid off, and that figure and that debt will be gone.
And everything's county owned.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Excellent. Something that we also have to call our own is the official Monmouth County tree this year.
Yes, it always bothered me that when we do so much infrastructure work, and we really do a great job. I commend Joe Attore and his staff, John Tabee and his staff, that, and I wanted people to realize when you came out of our neighboring towns, whether it was Burlington, Mercer, Ocean County, when you came into Monmouth County, you knew you were in Monmouth County, and we figured we did a signature tree, and it's the oak tree. So that's the county of the Monmouth tree. Obviously, there's a few different specimens that live by the waters or areas that they would thrive in. But so when you come into an area and you start to see a row of oak trees, you could, without the sign, you'll know you're in Monmouth County.
Ah, that's great. Yeah, that's a great idea. So another first for Monmouth County is something that has to do with the recycling essay contest.
Yeah, so we created, years ago when myself and my fellow freeholders, all of us have been mayors, we really enhanced the need for recycling. That somewhat has taken a step back, and by no fault of the municipalities, it's because, quite frankly, it's much more costly because the cost factor has changed so much. But the tide is kind of turning a little to go the other way, so we figured we'd put an initiative, an educational component together, and we were very fortunate. We have an artist that we hired, and he's phenomenal. And we created a contest called, and we picked out what what we would be promoting as the educational component. And the person that won is Recycling Rocky, a student that came there. And we recognized all the students there, and we're going to go out there, and we have a full storybook, coloring book that we go to all the schools with. And it's really a different way to promote it, because at the end of the day, it's hard to teach a grown person to recycle if they don't want to.
Right.
But if we could get into the schools and teach them properly, and they grow up knowing that, it's just like seatbelts. It's very easy to teach a person when they're just starting to drive to put seatbelts on. It's hard to teach somebody maybe at ours to put it on. The importance of it.
And it's so, like you said, it's so important to get them at a young age, the children, because
absolutely, that's where it all starts.
Yeah, and like you said before, we're not going to be here one day, but they will, and their children will. So,
and it will just be a way of life.
Right, exactly. That's such a great effort, and another initiative very near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
I know that Freeholder is your Grow in Monmouth initiative.
Yes, this was great this year, and we kicked off another program, the Hazelnut Farm Demonstration, where we were in Cream Ridge, and we planted the crop there. It's unbelievable, but what is remarkable is how it has taken off between the ag industry and, of course, our restaurant businesses, where we're promoting all that. So we're able to, get two bangs at the buck there, because we're promoting both industries, and very, very, very important industries here in Monmouth County, and it gives us the ability to, again, succeed in the economic development side.
Sure. Did you think that your Grow in Monmouth initiative would become so big?
No, I never did. I never did. And I remember when we started it, it is just, what it started as the signature Grow Monmouth, then it came Grown in Monmouth, Made in Monmouth, the facade program, all those little components that have come together with them have made this really statewide, recognized statewide.
Yeah, it really is so commendable to you, Freeholder. And tourism, of course. I mean, I know tourism, we have the most beautiful beaches in the country, but there's so much more than just our Jersey Shore as well, and as a whole with tourism.
There is, and just to touch first on the Jersey Shore, we had a banner year, $23.5 or $7 million in revenue, up from last year. It's continually going up from Sandy. I commend all the municipalities for their enhancement and promoting of it. And I have to tell you, you look at it now and you go back, the year after Sandy, and we hit rock bottom there. And to see where we're at now, we're well surpassed those numbers, and it's becoming a true destination. I mean, we know that just by the traffic count there.
Absolutely.
And we're incorporating different things like we did this year. We had Restaurant Week, which was the economic development side tied into the to the tourism industry. But tourism, what we're trying to promote is not just from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We have a lot of events that go all the way through the holidays, and it's not, and we have the western part of the county. We have all those different areas that brings tourism in, and but we're partnering with the municipalities. We have numerous meetings together to try to promote and work together and see what town has one thing that maybe we could partner up a neighboring town and the county could help promote it.
Right, absolutely. Such a great idea as well. And obviously we had Veterans Day in November, but when it comes to veterans, it's an all year round initiative and effort to provide programs and services for our vets.
We absolutely are 100% realize the importance of our veterans. Let's face it, when we sit here now, we're here for a reason. Because our veterans, what they did for us. They gave us their sacrifice, and they made a quality of life that we could live in. And it's our job now to give back to that. And we put on a full-time vocational rehabilitation counselor there at the Office of Aging. And we're going to continue to work with our vets. I know Veterans Day, myself and the fellow freeholders were out doing different programs, and we'll continue to do that. And what's really recognized, and I know you talked about the election before, is when I was around the county, obviously I'm working to try to get reelected, I would see a lot of veterans. And it was so special to hear thank you from them that we're doing the right thing. So, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
That's what's really important.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can't, of course we're going to judge ourselves, but if other people need to judge us, and when those individuals come in and say they think we're doing the right thing, it makes you feel good.
It makes it all worthwhile.
It does.
Freeholder Director, thank you so much for joining us today. Lots of great information there, lots of great initiatives. Congratulations on your re-elective. Congratulations on your successes as Freeholder. And that is all the time we have for this segment of Monmouth in Focus. Of course, more information, please visit www.visitmonmouth.com. I'm Cynthia Scott. Have a great day, everyone.
Filmmakers from around the world submit their work to the Garden State Film Festival. Discover the next stars of the silver screen in Asbury Park, New Jersey, March 25th to the 29th, 2020. Submit your film today at gsff.org. Get your tickets today at gsff.org.
welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm Cynthia Scott, your host for Monmouth in Focus. And joining me today is Freeholder Sue Kiley, who is the liaison to the Monmouth County Department of Health, as well as the Public Health Nurse Supervisor, Gerald Crottle. Thank you so much for joining us today here on Monmouth in Focus. It is wintertime, so along with winter comes flu season, unfortunately. So, let's start with you, Sue. How important is it for people to get their flu shots this time of year, and is it too late?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's very important to get a flu shot if you don't want the flu.
Yeah.
And I've had it in the past. I think everybody that thinks about the flu associates it with chills and fever and bed and hot tea, and you don't want to go through that if you don't have to. So it's very important to get your flu shot, and it's never too late to get it either.
It's never too late to get it. And what are some of the recommendations for getting vaccinated?
So the CDC recommends that anyone 6 months and older is eligible and should have a flu shot. And in particular, you know, pregnant moms, senior citizens, anyone that might have compromised health should absolutely get a flu shot. And you can get them, you should get them before the end of October, but you can get them right up until January. As long as the flu is circulating, you're eligible and you should get a flu shot.
And they're very accessible. It's very easy to get. I mean, obviously your doctor carries it, but if you can't make it to your doctor, the local pharmacies usually have it. Some places of work usually have a day where you're giving the flu shot, so it is easy to get.
Yep, absolutely.
But let's talk a little bit about the differences, Gerald, between the common cold and the flu, or just feeling sick in general.
Big difference in the flu and the cold. The cold kind of comes on slowly. You get a stuffy nose. You may get a little bit achy. The flu is severe. It comes on suddenly. You'll see a high fever, headache, severe body aches, and you are laid up for several days. So it's important to recognize the difference in these symptoms.
Right, and like you said, high fever, the chills, the sweats, you're cold, you're hot, you can't get out of bed, you can't eat. You really can't move. I guess that's when you kind of know you have the flu, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is, what types, we talk about vaccines and are they effective? What's the strain? Are there different types of vaccines out there?
There are a variety of different vaccines out there. In the last year, the Centers for Disease Control has worked with their manufacturers, and they've created vaccines that are now without eggs. Significant amount of people had egg allergies, so now they're eligible as well for a flu shot. There's quadrivalent vaccine, which is the 2A strains and the 2B strains, and most of the vaccines are now made up with that. And they've also reintroduced FluMist with it, which is the nasal spray.
Okay, so they stopped doing that, and now they're doing that again?
They've reintroduced it, yes.
Okay, then when you say they reintroduced it, was it not effective enough last time, or?
No, they had decided that it wasn't effective enough. So it was reintroduced this year.
Sure, absolutely. So when it comes to the flu, obviously the flu shot's a great way to protect yourself, although it's not 100% proof, because in a way, sometimes, I hate to say it like this, but it is a guessing game because it's tough to find out which strain is out there every year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
They actually go by the Southern Hemisphere, and they had redone the vaccine this year. Did take a little longer to come out. They were trying to make a closer match. But even if it's not an exact match, you still want to get your flu shot. It still lessens the symptoms.
Right.
Prevents a lot of the hospitalizations that we see with the flu.
Aside from getting the flu shot, what are some other ways to protect yourself from getting sick, getting the flu?
It's important that you avoid people that are sick, and if you're sick yourself, that you're not, playing the hero and saying, I can go into work now and I'll be fine. Because what you're doing is infecting other people, and that's the last thing we want to see happen.
Right.
I have grandchildren that go into school and they come home and they don't feel well, and it's better to keep them home a day if you think they're coming down with something than to send them back in.
And the flu spreads very fast.
It does.
I remember a few years ago when you would see on the news the people who would take flights and they'd be wearing the masks, not just on the airplanes, but all over the airports. So it's scary out there. I mean, there are fatalities as a result of the flu. Every year you hear it.
Well, and I hear the grandkids coming in talking about all the kids that are out of school. You know, this is how many classmates we had today, and this is how many we had yesterday, because the kids get it and they're smart enough to stay home until they recover.
And it's important to tell the kids to, kids are coughing all over the place. They
Exactly
sneeze, right. They put their hands in things. Sometimes they forget to wash their hands. Cough in your sleeve. Just take those certain types of precautions if you can.
Jarrell, I remember learning in nursing school that the most critical, most important thing you can do to not spread infection is hand washing.
Hand
With
washing.
soap and water.
Yes.
And that has not changed. That's the most important thing we can be doing.
So
is
important.
often.
Yes.
And again, the symptoms of the flu that differ from the cold is it comes on right away. I guess that's
It's
a
a
big
quick
telltale
onset.
sign, because when you're getting a cold, you're like, my throat's a little raspy, I'm not feeling so great, and maybe the next day you'll wake up better, maybe the next day you'll have a stuffy nose. With the flu, it comes on full force.
It's a severe onset. You've got the fever, you're achy. More with the cold, you see more of the runny nose, the sore throat. The flu is really the achiness, the high fever, the headache.
Yeah. Now, can a cold turn into the flu?
It's a different virus.
Okay, different virus. And how about the flu vaccine? I know the first thing that people worry about is, am I going to get the side effects of being sick from the flu? Am I not going to feel well? Is it, do the benefits outweigh, the pros outweigh the cons, or the cons outweigh the pros?
Well, Freeholder Kylie just got her flu shot.
Okay, she looks great.
I feel great. Gerald actually gave me my flu shot, and she did a fantastic job. My arm was a little sore at the end of the day, but that was it. I had no symptoms. I was absolutely fine, and now I know I'm protected for the season.
Right. That's great. So any reverse reactions may be
Might get achy,
feeling-
sore. But
Yeah.
again, it's not going to be severe. You do not get the flu from the vaccine.
Exactly. Okay.
That's the most important.
Absolutely. Yes. We certainly don't want to give. Any last advice that you would want to give the viewers, Gerald?
Really, to stay home if you're sick, wash your hands frequently, and get a flu vaccine. It's never too late.
Yeah. And like you said, Sue, very important that if your kids come home and they don't feel well, keep them home, because
Right.
you certainly don't want any sort of flu outbreak at schools or anything like that. You want to protect your kids. You want to protect yourself as much as you possibly can this flu season and throughout the year.
Absolutely.
When do we say that, you hear about people getting the flu up until April. When does the season officially end?
The issue with the question is the season doesn't end the same way it did. The different strains really run a different season. We see flu as early as September and as late as April.
Okay. All right. Thank you both so much for joining us today, and lots of insightful information there, great information, and let's hope that we have a healthy, I don't want to say flu season, but 2020 season.
That's right. That's right. And getting your flu shots will help.
Getting your flu shots and being flu-free this season. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, ladies. And that's all the time we have for this segment of Mom with the Focus. Of course, for more information, you can go to www.visitmonmouth.com. I'm Cynthia Scott.
Filmmakers from around the world submit their work to the Garden State Film Festival. Discover the next stars of the silver screen in Asbury Park, New Jersey, March 25th to the 29th, 2020. Submit your film today at gsff.org. Get your tickets today at gsff.org.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Burns, Associate Vice President of Educational Access and Innovation at Brookdale Community College. If you're unsure about your major, then Brookdale's the right choice for you. We have an option for undecided students that will enroll you in the liberal arts degree. There, you can take a course called CCSC 105, the College Success Seminar. This class is specifically designed for students like you. And by the end of the course, you'll have an academic and career plan that will get you into the right major. Visit the website for more information, and I hope to see you around campus.
Hello and welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm Cynthia Scott, your host for Monmouth in Focus. And joining me today is Freeholder Lillian Burry, who is the liaison to the Monmouth County Park System. And we have a special guest here to join us today is Justin Lotano, who is the president of the Coltec Township Lions Club. We're talking about such a great and unique effort. It is the sensory playground den that is currently under construction at Dorbrook Park. What exactly is that?
Well, my understanding is that it is a universally inclusive playground. And but this one has been specifically designed for children with not learning disabilities, but rather visual disabilities, and some are blind as well.
Sure.
And it's really an amazing project. But it all started with Justin Latano, and he really got the whole thing spearheaded and got it going.
Sure.
And he's probably better
Yeah,
able to
Justin-
discuss it. But before we go any further, I do want to focus on the fact that the Monmouth County Park System and the Lions Club did this as a collaborative effort. And the park system was very welcoming and very supportive. And I think Justin will agree with that.
Absolutely.
Good. So I just wanted to put a
Oh,
plug
great.
in for the
Yep.
park system.
Absolutely. It probably
Yeah.
couldn't come to fruition without both organizations coming together. And
Exactly.
Justin, but how did the idea come about?
So the actual idea, it's funny. It was actually my wife's idea. One night we were just talking about, trying to come up with a kind of a bigger scale project for the Colts Neck Lions Club. And she thought of the idea of looking into building a playground for kids that are blind or visually impaired. Lions International, like one of our main focuses is helping people who are either blind or visually impaired, also autistic. So when the thought came up of a playground for kids, I started doing some research and found out there's definitely a need in this area. And the nearest playground that is geared towards this is up in Jersey City at the St. Joseph School for the Blind.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of the first place that I started doing some research, and they were welcoming and gave me a tour of their facility so I can really see the differences between a playground, because the Challenger Place playground is great. It's ADA approved, the American Disability Act approved. All kids can play on it, but there are some big differences between a ADA approved playground and a playground that's geared towards children that are blind or visually impaired. So it started with, like I said, my wife's idea, sitting on the couch one night, and now it's under construction.
Wow.
So it's been a really great project for the whole community.
Really.
And obviously couldn't do it without Lillian and the Parks and
Absolutely.
Recreation.
So when we talk about this playground, what are the differences that someone who is visually impaired how can they utilize this playground versus a playground that, let's say, they can't utilize?
Well, actually, it's open to all children.
It's open to all children. So
Yes, it
it's
is.
the whole idea. The concept is it's all inclusive. So you're not actually going to be able to tell the difference between the current playground and where this is. It's an addition.
Okay.
The differences between, like, the term sensory obviously applies to the 5 senses.
Sure.
So smell and taste are obviously tough ones to do on a playground, but the other senses. So a lot of it is musical equipment. So it's
Great.
designed so kids can touch it and hear it. A lot of big contrasting colors for children who are not fully blind but just partially blind, so they can actually see what they're playing with.
There's also vibrations. isn't there?
Vibrations.
Yeah,
There's some
Wow.
things that you bang on.
Yeah.
There's xylophones. There's drums. So it's a lot of, the term sensory most commonly is in the autistic community. So the term sensory as a whole is something a lot that you're seeing a lot more of.
Sure.
So it's really just designed to have children who have this, that are blind, visually impaired, or autistic, that they feel comfortable on the certain pieces of equipment from a safety and from a, to help them from a learning and, getting socially, involved with the rest of the children.
And there is this interaction with other children as
Which is
well.
great. So it's
which
everyone's
adds to-
involved in it, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's not separating.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly
Yeah.
right,
Yep.
and it helps their self-confidence and belief in themselves. So that's
Yeah,
important.
very important.
Yeah,
I would
very much.
imagine after you visited the school, I guess your next step was, how do we get funding for this?
Yes. Well, that was the first step. The next step was actually getting the county's buy-in that it was something that was needed in the area. And after getting some of the Monmouth County Parks and Recreation people to come with me to St. Joseph School for the Blind, I think the biggest turning point was actually having them speak with some of the teachers and social workers at the school, and just to get a better understanding of how much this helps these children,
Sure.
and how much of a big part of the population of kids is blind, visually impaired,
Right.
or autistic. So that was a real turning point. And then from there, the county Parks agreed to give us the space at Dorbrook Park, and then the fun part started, which was, having to convince the Lions Club of Colts Neck that we were going to be able to raise such a big number because, up to this point we have been doing a lot. The club's been around for 50 years,
Wow.
so the club's been doing a lot of smaller projects. So a project of this scale was obviously challenging and kind of out of the norm. So, convincing the club that it was possible to raise.
You're really minimizing what you did. It's really amazing when you think about it. $145,000.
Wow,
And
that's
for a small
fantastic.
club to come up with
Yeah.
that kind of money, but the community was behind you, and
No
that's
doubt.
what was so important. And I read that 35,000 came from Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins.
Yes.
And they have a special foundation.
That's great.
For childhood joy, I guess it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And this is amazing because the Colts Neck Lions Club obviously raised the money, helped raise the funds, but this is for all kids in Monmouth County.
Absolutely.
yes,
So,
absolutely.
Dorbrook Park is just an amazing place for
Yeah.
children and for adults too. It has lots to offer and a great central location
Yeah.
for
Very definitely.
it to be utilized there.
Right off 537. Great.
Yeah, and it was a community effort from a lot of people involved. So we did get some grants from companies like Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
Investors Bank, Rank Colts Neck gave us some money. We do several fundraising events throughout the year. We also got some personal donations. We got some money from the Colts Neck Business Association, from the Colts Neck Reformed Church, from the Women's Club of Colts Neck. So it was really
Right.
neat to see,
Yeah.
because everyone saw it as, this is going to be something all your
Yeah.
children and grandchildren are going to be able to play on. You're going to be able to say you had a part in it. It really was the coming together of it was a collaborative.
And you'll be
effort. A lot of-
recognizing their donations with plaques or
Yes,
something.
yes. So we are, we're going to have a plaque in the entrance to
That's
the Challenger
wonderful.
Place, and it really was amazing to see it all come together from just like a random idea that we had to, actually happening. It was really neat.
I know it's under construction, but do we have a date for the unveiling?
I've been pushing.
Early
Just
spring,
on
warm
it.
weather coming.
We were hoping to have it done in the fall, but
Yes.
because of some of the delays in the surfacing is back ordered and it's weather dependent, so
Yeah.
That's
we
it.
are definitely going to be doing a big grand opening in the spring of
Wonderful.
2020.
Spring.
Absolutely.
Like so many other things.
Yes, busy spring.
Busy
Okay,
spring.
let's hope we have a somewhat of a calm winter, and then we'll have a nice spring for this wonderful grand opening. Thank you so much both
Yeah,
for joining us
well,
today here on Monmouth in
pleasure,
Focus.
really.
My pleasure.
Really
Thanks for
great
having us.
effort for.
It's just so exciting.
It really is for the kids
Yeah.
in Monmouth County and everyone coming together, which is
Yes.
great. So I thank you, and I thank you both for
Absolutely.
joining
Thank you.
us here today.
Thank you.
And that is all the time we have for this segment of Monmouth in Focus. For more information, please visit www.visitmonmouth.com. I'm Cynthia Scott. Have a great day.